Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to another edition of Cooking with Relish. Today we're going to be working with items from your produce box, and we're going to make an apple and fennel slaw. We're going to start today by making the dressing. Here are our ingredients for today. We have garlic and shallot, fresh thyme, apple cider vinegar, and we're going to put them in a blender. We're going to put about a tablespoon of garlic cloves. The same with the shallot. This is thyme. Easiest way to get these leaves off of the tough stems is just to take it in your hand and work them right off, just like that. We're going to pop the thyme in. There's about a tablespoon and a half a cup of cider vinegar. And now we're going to add our agave. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of agave. And this is going to be our emulsifying agent. What that means is it's going to bring the dressing together and create a temporary emulsion so it's creamy instead of a loose vinegar and oil combination. So we've got everything in there. We've got some olive oil here. We're going to start by blending up the ingredients. Once the ingredients are nice and smooth in there, see just a little liquid, we're going to start adding the olive oil slowly. So we'll start up the blender. We've added in a cup of olive oil, and now you have the dressing. It's a loose consistency, but as you can see, it's come together. It'll separate in a few hours, but all you have to do is shake it a little bit to get it back. So there you have a nice thyme and apple cider vinaigrette. The next thing we'll do, folks, is we're going to prepare the vegetables for the slaw and the fruit. So we have fennel, apples, and cabbage. First, let's talk about fennel. Fennel is kind of a licorice-flavored bulb vegetable. We're going to start by taking off the bottom, also losing the fronds and the top part. And we're going to take the fennel and split it in half. And as you can see, there's a pretty deep core in there. We're going to go ahead and remove that core. Same thing with the other half. And then we're just going to take the fennel and shave it nice and thin. Do a second bulb. You'll have a lot of outer leaves come loose. Doesn't mean they're bad, but you do want to remove the brown stuff and any of the old and drier stuff. Now, the only cooking process in this whole thing is blanching the fennel. And when we talked about Brussels sprouts, we talked about blanching the Brussels sprouts where you throw them in heavily salted boiling water and you let them go for 5 minutes so they can cook. This fennel is thin and a lot more delicate. So what I'm going to do with the fennel is I'm going to blanch it very, very quickly in a combination of white wine and hot water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fennel, you see I've got the water and the wine roll in there. I'm going to drop it in and instantly take it off the heat and shock it in a little bit of ice water to stop the cooking process. You saw how quickly that went. You're not trying to cook this fennel all the way. You're just trying to take a little bit of the bitterness and the crispiness out of it. Nice and tender. Apple's pretty easy. I like to do an apple like this. cut it in half, quarter, cut the core all the way out, just like that. So you have a nice flat quarter apple. And with the apples, you just want to slice them nice and thin, going from the skin side down, so you're not crushing the meat of the apple. Now we'll talk cabbage. So the cabbage, I've got a half a head cabbage here. Going to take the core out of that one too. In a pretty big way. Cabbage is a pain in the ass. So what I like to do is take nice thin pieces off of it and then shave it down from there. We've got everything in there now, and we're going to mix it up real well. We're going to add a little bit of salt. Everything's broken up and mixed together nice and loosely in there. A couple tablespoons of salt. And now we're going to add our dressing to it. So I'd say we've got 2 apples in there, 2 bulbs of fennel. You've probably got close to half a head of cabbage. And we're going to take and put probably about a cup of your dressing on there to start. Toss it all up real well. The slaw will need probably 15-20 minutes to macerate. Break down a little bit. Get to a nice good consistency. As you can see, it comes together pretty simply. Now, we're going to go ahead and take some of the fronds from our fennel bulb. Take those guys. Mix them in. Give that a nice toss. And it adds a nice bit of color to it.